Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the book Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. And I really enjoyed this one a lot more than Dark Age. Mainly because there's a better kind of balancing between horrible shit happening and levity. Like, this was back to more of like the original trilogy for me. And even though there was shit that's kind of like, okay, why is Volga doing this? Acting like this, and Lysander pretty much being able to get out of certain situations, it kind of reeked more kind of the plot demanding it, though you would say that a lot of that kind of stuff would happen to Darrow as well in the original one. It just felt more like Atalantius pretty much would have taken his ass out at certain kind of points on, like, Earth. Him doing his shit on Mars, and then especially with what was kind of going on in the Rim. But Darrow and Cassius and Severo, and eventually Lyria, they form the main crux as they're just kind of going around in the Archimedes. It very much kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, gave me the Rocinante kind of vibes from The Expanse. I was like, oh, okay, this would have been an interesting kind of thing if they had just a kind of ship with kind of like you got like Severo, his family, Darrow and his family, and then Cassius and them just kind of like going around, kind of fucking around as shit kind of goes gnarly. The main kind of positive is we don't really have the clone here. It's just they're stuck on Luna, and Atalantius kind of got to deal with that. But it doesn't take any kind of over, and we still see that Lysander is the main kind of antagonist that's being kind of built up as this kind of philosopher king that's a dumb fucking shit. I mean, he's smart, but he just fucking goes, I'm gonna be a fascist and do some stupid ass shit and get like a bioweapon that'll fuck over everything. Oh, that's neat. So, that's pretty much getting to the end, but we'll crack that as we get to it. So, Darrow pretty much was rescued by Cassius, so is pretty much a good amount of his troops. Well, not a good amount, but a decent amount. As they pretty much go to like an old Ares kind of trash moon, Marcher 1682, as they're pretty much trying to fix the Archimedes. Cassius kind of goes and brings back Calloway. Calloway is still kind of pissed off that Orion was killed and pretty much blames more on Darrow. And I'm like, she went fucking nuts, man. Like, he tried to do his best. Like, I'm not saying that Darrow's like a saint or anything like that, but like, he didn't intentionally kind of like fuck some shit up to kind of like fuck these guys over. It's like, alright, but he still has that kind of, has to deal with that as he's reading this thing, The Path to the Veil, from R.A., this pink that is with Cassius. Pretty much, we learned that she is from the Athena, the Daughters of Athena, which is the Rim branch of the Sons of Ares. Athena pretty much wants to link up with Severo and give him his inheritance from Ares. They don't really trust Darrow because of him kind of leaving the Sons of Ares in the Rim to pretty much get fucked over by Romulus and the Raws. So I do like that he has to deal with that and that it comes back to haunt his ass. It isn't just kind of like dropped. So we see that they are trying to, they get confirmation that for some reason the clone has sold Severo to Apollonius, and Apollonius is like, you got 90 days to come get your boo before I kill him. Kind of shit. It's like, yeah, you fucking dick. So they decide to pretty much make a pit stop to Venus. They kind of, everybody's pretty much like, Darrow, just go the fuck back to Mars. It's like, I gotta get my friend. I'm not in the best kind of shape, but I gotta kind of do it. So Thraxia gives Bad Lass to him, her razor, and pretty much Darrow and Cassius go to kind of, and R.A. try to go there and save Severo. They get captured. They do have an atomic to kind of blow up, but Apollonius gets that and pretty much starts a duel with Darrow to pretty much fuck his ass over. And it kind of does. It shows the disadvantages of the Willow Way. that he had learned from Lorne. And the biggest kind of crux of this book is for Darrow to learn to be himself and to make peace with his mistakes and to become a better person and to get his own kind of thing. It really kind of helps to culminate at the end when he fights Volsung Fa and he gets this new kind of way, the Breath of Stone, that helps because throughout this journey he trains with Cassius, becomes better, gets more in tune with himself, and then culminates in him doing this kind of duel and him learning his own way and fighting in his own way as he is as a Red, the Breath of Stone, understanding what kind of went on with that. It's like, oh, that's really cool. But we learned that Sevro's kind of in the wind, and then we see another kind of atomic explosion that gets these other kind of guys to pretty much pop up and be like, I'm gonna take this stockyard, bitch! And Apollonius is like, fuck! And then everything kind of goes gnarly. Severo pops up in a star shell and pretty much drags their asses out, and they are able to escape. So they try to make their way to Mars. This, of course, Lysander has recommissioned the Morning Star to be the Lightbringer and is doing pretty much games and being like, oh yeah, cool. Let's kind of see what's going on. Trying to build up his stuff. Glorastes and Roan trying to kind of help him out a little bit before Atlas pops up and like, yeah, shit's going weird. Pretty much kills Apollonius' brother and then calls Lysander to Earth, beats his ass up, and then has him kind of reconfigured because Atalania can't be seen with like a scarred up motherfucker, except for like the Peerless scar, and then also threatens Glorastes that Lysander has to back her ass up at this gathering of the 200 kind of golds and everything that Julia Bellana. I'm mucking up some Star Trek in this bitch. Bellona's at, and we see that Lysander tells her to kind of fuck off and says that Gold needs to be more of a shepherd. They've lost their way, and that instead of going after Luna, they should go after Mars, because of course the Rim's pretty much starting to leave. It's like, why the fuck are we still here doing all this stuff? You got Earth. We need to kill the fucking Republic. And I'm like, I actually kind of get him on this. I'm like, fuck it. This is of course where Ajax pretty much learns that Atalantia was party to killing of Lysander's parents and says, fuck you, bitch. It's like, okay, interesting that you attempted to kill Lysander and now you're kind of back together. I kind of get that the plot kind of needs it. I just needed a little bit more kind of... It's really kind of weird that this fucking thing is like almost 700 pages. I'm like, I kind of needed a little bit more to kind of make that one stick a little bit better. Lysander's is down to mainly execution. He's a dumb fucker that survives some shit that he really shouldn't. It's like, oh god, Atalania probably should have like killed his ass here. So we then pretty much get to the main kind of battle portion where Virginia, she is dealing with Kavax, not in a bad kind of way, but like him being just like, I'm tired of this bullshit. What the fuck? But him still being that stalwart kind of stone for her, and her for him, and her kind of talking with Pax and kind of getting to see him being kind of like in the pilot kind of training kind of school and all that, since, I mean, he blew up a ship. It's like, okay, let's see how you work on this, man. As we then see what's kind of going on. Evidently, these kind of long-range guns on Earth were fixed up and their intel wasn't quite all right. Virginia pretty much goes to Phobos and is orchestrating her defense. It's very interesting to see her kind of differences between Darrow orchestrating his kind of campaign on Mercury and any kind of other one versus how she kind of does it herself, being kind of like a mix of Augustus, but being more compassionate on what's going on, trying to figure out and make sure that she doesn't spend lives recklessly or carelessly. Kavax being taken, and then getting Valdir out of prison and be like, hey, fuck these motherfuckers up as they attempt to capture Apollonius, but fail in that kind of regard. He is a crazy-ass motherfucker. Cicero doing stupid-ass shit, one of Lysander's allies, and you're like, shit, Ajax being taken out by Victra and Thraxa. That was just like, ooh. Was it Thraxa? Yes, she had the hammer. Yep. But see, the thing is that the guns had pretty much shifted the Julie fleet away and like fucked them up on Mars because they had this kind of turtling kind of thing that was kind of going on, but they're like, fuck you motherfuckers. But Julie was able to do an Iron Rain to kind of help out Lysander, and Ajax, of course, were kind of on the moon and trying to see what's kind of going on, but things are just going completely and utterly nuts, and Lysander has to parlay with Virginia and pretty much seeds the moon, while Victor pretty much turtles on Mars, and Lysander has to go out because Volsungpa has decided to attack with his Volk forces the Rim. So this calls Lysander and the Rim forces back, which kind of fucks them over in more ways than one. It's like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? I kind of had an idea, like, we know that Volsungpa is an agent of Atlas, and that becomes completely apparent here. We'll get to that in a minute. Of course, Darrow gets the whole kind of information with what's going on. Severo wants to go home, but they're like, no, we kind of have to go out. So they try to go and stop at Quicksilver first, because we check in with Lyria, and she's able to eventually find, like, most of her squad gets taken out, but she gets taken in by Mateo and Quicksilver, and she's pretty much given this choice. We can either fix the thing, which can fuck up your memories, or we can take the fucking thing out. And she's like, I want to keep my memories. I want to keep who I am. Good choice there, but she won't have, like, any of the super kind of shit that Figment would have. She was kind of fucked up a little bit, but of course, she was able to kind of send a thing that is able to allow the Republic to kind of point Darrow and the rest of them their way. We do get clashes of Severo and Cassius, and Severo and Darrow. Dario, what the hell? I'm fusing some weird shit here. But they're able to get to Quicksilver. Quicksilver's like, I ain't doing this shit. He's decided to have humans that are not in the whole color casting system, and instead makes this kind of generational thing. He doesn't have a fleet. He's got some kind of weapons that he gives to Darrow, but he needs to buck out. Lyria, of course, wants to go and rescue Volga, and does also relay the information to Severo that he had a son that was killed. And he, at first, was just going to go back. And Lyria was going to be sent back with this automated ship as well. However, with a message to Virginia. However, she just leaves that there. Severo decides to go with them because of what went on with his kid. And of course, he's kind of pissed off at first before everything kind of comes to light. And Darrow, it was really affecting for Darrow to, like, have that good kind of conversation with him. I'm like, I'm so sorry about your kid. I am. And what's kind of been eating at him and all that. And it's like, shit. And the back and forth between Cassius, because Lyria snuck on board the Archimedes, and it's like, what the fuck's going on here? Severo lays a fucking ham trap for her ass, and like, I got you, bitch! And it's funny because they're both in the kind of sunbutters and stuff, and Severo at first doesn't talk to her, but she learns how to fly and do stuff on the ship, and is like, I don't talk to people when they're not useful. And them having their kind of, like, little kind of thing is great, but I love the relationship that we get with her and Cassius, where Cassius actually tries to be a good man. That is the biggest kind of point to this book, of Cassius trying to be this best and honorable man that he can, and actually achieving that, even though eventually it leads to his death at the end of this book. Because he tries to believe the best in Lysander, and Lysander's like, fuck that shit. Because at first he's like, yeah, Cassius, help me take out the Fear Knight, because he's working with Diomedes on the ship, and Atlas pretty much fakes himself being Helios, and then pretty much destroys the fleet almost instantaneously by, like, doing all this kind of crazy shit. Poisons Diomedes, poisons Lysander. However, Lysander's got this leech because somebody tried to poison and kill his ass before at this, like, victory thing going on Phobos, and that is later Roan. And it's like, he just to put him out of commission so that way Atlas can do his whole thing for vengeance from the Society on the Rim, which is achieved in this book, which is, like, horrendous. It's like, holy fucking shit. So Lysander's pretty much made into the puppet. Atlas pretty much is like, listen, Volsungpa, as we pretty much see them kind of talking, has been his plan. He wants to leave and live a great life on Earth and do his shit. He kind of wants Volga in that kind of mix, and is trying to kind of turn her, as we see Lyria. But she's only in a little bit of the book, even though she's kind of important because she eventually takes over the Obsidians as they kind of vote her into it. But it's like, shit, he's going to be the kind of White Knight kind of thing, and then bring the Rim and finish everything kind of off. However, it doesn't work out that way, because Dara and the rest kind of pop up there. They link up with the daughters of Athena, who pretty much try him and give him a new razor, which is pretty cool, but it's a Hasta razor. He doesn't really learn, we are kind of shown that it takes a little bit more kind of a different kind of skill set to use a Hasta razor versus your regular razor, but Dara's able to be like, fuck this shit, I got this on lock. as well as his like really badass body armor from Quicksilver. Pretty awesome. Let's see here. Am I missing anything important? Did that? Yeah. So Quicksilver's pretty much got his non-colors, and he's making a kind of like generational shift. They're gonna fuck off because he's like, everybody here is fucking stupid. It's like, and Dara's like, you're just giving up. Fine, fuck you, man. Like going on. So we got Dido and Helo's dead, and Gaia captured. We see that it's pretty much put that the Volk are on Io and pretty much making that completely nuts. But Diomedes is in the win and then links up with Darrow because they find his escape pod, and he's like, okay. And Diomedes is a really good character. He's very honorable, but very much like a straightforward, like, I'm a literal man. I will fucking not, I'm not going to do bad shit that I don't want to do. He really works well within the dynamic that we get with Cassius and everything like that. Severo tries to torture him at first to get information, but I'm like, fucking stop, goddammit! Like, stop. And we get a kind of other kind of pivotal thing of like Severo trying to deal with like his whole goblin persona, and Dara's like, no, don't try and be that kind of dick man. Just, you can be yourself, man. I like you for Severo, not because of like the goblin weird ass shit that you do. Let me see. And Lysander tries to save the lives, but we see that everything's kind of going nutty, and that Atlas is attempting to get a specified bioweapon that can be targeted for any color, gold included, which is like, okay, let's see how that kind of works out. What I was talking about before. But things kind of go gnarly as they are attempting to deal with what's kind of going on. They try to help the daughters decide to stay Darrow's execution, and he decides to make a kind of peace with Diomedes to try and deal with the whole kind of obsidian threat at the moment. And Severo also, like, Darrow does this great kind of speech, not really kind of just being like, listen, I fucked up. I'm an asshole. I get that. Whatever you choose, go for it. Severo pretty much tries to do his own kind of thing and gets Darrow, Diomedes, and Cassius to help with the daughters. We get Lyria pretty much smuggled to Volga, and she's like, oh yeah, you're like, she's been with Volsung Fa for like maybe like about 8 months or whatnot, because it's like 8-month time period between this last book and this book. It's probably a little bit more, but she doesn't really listen to anything that Lyria has to say. Pretty much takes her to Volsung Fa, and then Volsung Fa pretty much is like, hey, use this kind of heart glove and kill all these motherfuckers. And when it gets to Lyria, she can't do it, but she's killed all these other ones. Let me find my little notes. There's just some little notes that I've got here. Like, at one point at, like, page 570, it's called a Heat Seeker instead of a Heart Seeker kind of gauntlet. And at one point, it said something about going away from Mercury when it was, like, away from Io. I'm like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Those were the only kind of weird little bits of, like, kind of quote-unquote mistakes. But we then get that they kill the Leviathan, which is like 300 years old, because they've been going around and kind of doing that. They did that to one of the dragons on Io. And Darrow and the rest of them pop out, and he, of course, challenges as Ashvar to Volsung Fa. That's where he gets his whole kind of thing up, as he pretty much starts, like, ripping this motherfucker apart, bouncing around some islands, which kind of goes on for a little bit too long, in my opinion. Almost gets to a Looney Tunes kind of quality. I get what we're seeing of, like, Darrow, like, the main kind of bit of, like, Volsung Fa, and Darrow kind of, like, fighting him with this giant kind of, like, chainsaw fucking spear thing, and Darrow finally doing his, like, Breath of Stone kind of thing, telling it to Cassius and everything, and having his brother kind of moment, and be like, you're my brother, man. I love that bit, with Darrow and Cassius kind of getting that and really having those kind of good moments. Those were very well done and very well executed. Yes, it hit me. I'm like, thank you. You did very well on those. Before we get the, like, thunder drop towards the end. But there's balance there, because you get that, and all I felt was like getting my asshole kicked in on the last one, where I'm like, oh god. And then the clone thing fucking... I'm glad that it was pretty much cut to like, there's just a fucking clone there that we'll have to deal with at a certain point, but... Which could be just, he was punted into the sun and never heard of again. Thank you, come again. It focused more on the villains of, like, Atlas doing this monstrosity. Even him being a Ra and doing this to the Rim. It's like, you fucking piece of shit. And then Lysander just going along with all this kind of stuff. I'm like, Cassius taught you better, man. And we even kind of get that later on. Let's see here. So he goes, does that, pretty much gets the Obsidians to do their kind of vote thing, and they vote Volga to be the queen. And she's like, I've done a lot of shit, and this is bad. And then, of course, Lysander's forces arrive and try to take on the Ascamani, but they've, like, fucked out. And Volga is in charge of the Volk. There is the difference between the Ascamani and the Volk. They're kind of like, oh shit. And the thing is, they've, like, captured people, but they're freeing people from them. Lysander pretty much, like, trying to liberate Io. Diomedes then doing a thing of calling a meeting between Lysander and Darrow and him to be like, listen, we need to take out Atlas. We need to bring all this shit to light, and we'll all join forces, fuck Atalania up, and do this kind of triumvirate thing. It's like, okay, cool. So Cassius then decides to kind of pop up on the Lightbringer and help Lysander out. He's like, how the fuck am I going to kill Atlas? Because Darrow, of course, already has the head of Volsung Fa, so he's already, like, fulfilled his kind of shit. Cassius is just talking to Lysander and trying to get a beat on him because he believes in him more, and also apologizes for trying to make him into Julian and trying to replace his kind of brother and not look at him and everything like that. It's like, oh, okay. But then Atlas pops up because his mission was successful of getting the Yedemi bioweapon, and Cassius and him have a badass fight, and Lysander takes out Roan, and the rest, tries to pretty much take out the rest of his compromised Gorgon Greys. But then Lysander's like, I'm going to take this thing. I'm like, really? I needed more of them selling Lysander being like, I'm going to just take this bioweapon and become fucking sovereign shit. I mean, I don't get, like, most of the stuff that we've seen him talk about with Cassius has been good things, and then he decides to, like, shoot the shit out of him and kill him here to take the bioweapon, and then just call bullshit and be like, I was almost assassinated, and then just raises Io as we see Darrow working with Gaia. Gaia pretty much being told by Diomedes to, like, Diomedes is like, fuck you, because she's like, yeah, we're just gonna make lies and let Diomedes do this shit. Diomedes is like, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not killing him, and I'm not letting this shit rock. Fuck that noise. And it was really kind of cool for Diomedes to stand his ground and be like, doing good shit. I like seeing good people crack it and do it that shit. So, also Lyria is kind of like helping Volga out a little bit, but like Cassie's getting killed. It's like, oh shit. I don't have a problem with Cassius getting killed. I mean, I liked his ass and didn't want him to die. That's a separate issue. My thing is, I needed Lysander to be kind of put on a little bit more of, like, it's more of the plot fulfilling that he needs to be big dick dude, the main antagonist of, like, the complete corruption of the gold, of, like, he's trying to do this whole society thing and trying to be, like, what gold's supposed to be, and I'm like, you pretty much were talked into a genocide by this motherfucker, and then you're like, oh, I killed that motherfucker, and now I'm going to take it anyway and be that kind of dick. It's like, I'm getting 2 + 2 equaling 5, and I just need a little bit more of, well, it's not even exactly like that. We're jumping a step. It's like 2 + 2, and then some kind of crazy operation, and we're at 5. It's like, where are we at here? I needed a little bit more to get to his point of, like, I will take this and be dick. It's like, alright, you doing okay over there, motherfucker? Let's see here. Because he thinks it's the only way to ensure peace and end the war. So we pretty much see that Diomedes is able to talk about everything because he had his kind of triumvirate thing before Lysander's like, eat ass! And then pretty much raises and destroys Io. Darrow and the rest of them are able to escape. We do see that Lyria is distraught that Cassius is dead. So is Severo. And Darrow, I love how it was talked about because Lysander shows Cassius's corpse, and then I like that it said that like Darrow's crying and everything, and that he's very affected that his brother is now dead. But they kind of get fucked up, but they get out of there. He's helping as many people as he can, and everything's kind of fucked up. We get Athena and Volga getting to Io, and we see that the Republic, the Rim, and the Daughters and the Volk get into an alliance and are going to Mars to kind of hopefully save the Republic and see what's going on, as Lysander's pretty much contemplating using the bioweapon on Reds or Gold first. And it's just like, oh god, I can't wait for you to get fucking your shit pushed in and wherever your fucking shit's going on. I knew the killing of Cassius was gonna pretty much like cement Lysander being a dipshit, but it was like I needed a little bit more. But overall, it was vastly more enjoyable because of the ebb and flow, whereas Dark Age was just a giant shit on everybody, or even the ones that were kind of winning were still shit on it. It's like, oh my god, I need some kind of levity or something here, and we got that more here. That's why I like this book more. It's got better balance. Again, it's in how its execution is working out, where I'm like, oh god, I don't, like, Darrow still, he gets fucked up and almost killed by Apollonius while he's attempting to rescue Severo, where Severo then rescues his ass. But then he builds himself back up. That's the best kind of strength here. And then also, even with Virginia, she kind of gets fucked up, not as much as Darrow, but she still kind of bucks out, and I really like the examination of her. Lysander is just, I know what you need to do, I just don't like his character, and it's mainly down to his certain kind of executions of what's going on. I'm not going to like his character anyway. I'm probably going to think that he's a good villain, antagonistic / protagonist from the society's perspective. But it's just like, you are one stupid motherfucker, and you should have been killed a good couple times throughout here. Yeah, I would still kind of recommend it, but if you got turned off by Dark Age, I understand that. I was almost turned off, mainly in regards to you're shitting on everybody, and then you introduce this clone. I'm glad that the clone doesn't play that, but any kind of part except that it's Luna as the obstacle. That was my kind of fear of like, oh god, are we going to get more of the clone? And I hope with like the next book or two, I don't know if it's going to be in like 2 parts or whatnot. It's just essentially they toss it away and just fucking deal with Lysander and Atalantia being the main kind of antagonistic forces, and what kind of goes on with that. We already did the Jackal. We don't need it back. So, those are my opinions on the book. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.